It is 6 o'clock on Thursday, October 7th, and I'm calling the Finance Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the minutes from September 30th. Can I get a motion?
I will.
Go ahead.
I
Make a motion to accept it.
make a motion to accept the minutes from what was the
September 30th.
September 30th.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Pete? Okay, Alex? Tommy?
Yes.
And Lynn?
Yes.
And Karen, yes. Okay, accepted. Tommy, I did not print it out, but as per the current reserve fund transfer request, we are the only ones that sign off on it. And it's never changed since I've been on. We're the only ones that sign off on it. Okay. So Seth, you've got the floor.
Okay, thank you. Couple things. I just want to make the committee aware that back in August, we received a federal grant of $300,000 to replace an ambulance. We applied for that grant just over a year ago. And give you some background, back in July 1st, 2020, we took over ambulance service for the town of Ocam. So they closed their ambulance service completely. They signed a memorandum of agreement with Rutland, and for the next 5 years, we provide ambulance service directly to them. Part of the deal was they're paying us an assessment each year, and then the town will bill patients directly and collect the revenue from the insurance company. Also part of that is all their ambulance equipment was passed on to us. So it became property of the town of Rutland. And the existing EMS staff that they had remaining in the town of Ocam, we hired them as Rutland employees. So we still staff an ambulance out of their station with their remaining 3 or 4 EMTs that they had. And then we back them up with our primary paramedic ambulance. So we've been doing it for about 18 months now. It's been working very, very well. They pay this year, their assessment to us is $23,500. Plus we anticipate on average we're collecting about $150,000 additional dollars in ambulance receipts during transport of their residents. It came down to if we did not take this on and they partnered with another community, we had been doing their ambulance coverage for so many years because of lack of personnel over there that potential of $100,000 loss of revenue to us could have been seen. So it was a good partnership to work together and get that done. And part of that was when I applied for the grant, I leveraged that agreement in the partnership in the regionalization effort with the federal government, and basically saying we're expanding our footprint of what our area that we're covering. Now our population is not only our town, it's their town. So all these things were big, huge positive pushes. And out of 35,000 applications this year, only 135 were given for vehicles, and we were one of them. So part of that is that the town has to match 5% of the 300,000. So at the fall town meeting, date to be determined, there'll be an article for a $14,285 match for that. We could not use any federal or state revenue to match this. It has to be town funds. Talking with Dan and looking at the revenue he used for projections when we went to town meeting this spring, no one ever caught that we never counted the $23,500 as a revenue in this cycle. So at the town meeting, the article will be to raise and appropriate the money from, because we're going to be collecting it as a local receipt this year. So when they close the books to set the tax rate, they will include that $23,000. So that would be basically a nice clean way. We're not using or tipping into free cash to cover that. This follows the capital plan. I met with the capital planning committee 2 weeks ago. We were on target to replace this ambulance this coming July or June town meeting or May town meeting. It's right now they're telling us it's going to be anywhere from a year to 18 months to build the ambulance due to the national shortage of chassis and vehicle issues nationwide. So again, all this is going to time out perfectly. It's going to fall right in the capital plan as far as replacement of the vehicles, and it's worked out very well. So you will see an article that I presented, and that's the only fire department article that's being presented. No other fire department articles. I wasn't going to try to replace cuts because that would have been one-time revenue, and I'm not looking to do that. So, so that pretty much takes care of that. Any questions on the grant and how that all shook out? Monday night, the finance, the board of selectmen voted to officially accept the grant and move the project forward to town meeting. So that's pretty much where we're at. Okay, good news.
It's very good news.
So, another article that I'll be bringing forward is a article for $12,908, and it's unfortunately Ron is going to determine where it will eventually come from, whether it's free cash or other type of funding sources. Several years ago, we replaced all the fire alarm systems in all town buildings, not the schools, just town buildings. And we eliminated all the Verizon copper phone lines that were paying $60 a month for every building for a fire alarm system. And we went to a cellular automatic transmitter dialer system. The problem is we've now gone to 5G technology, and the old system was 3G, so now we have to change the transmitters. So that would be all the town buildings would be done. And during our annual fire alarm and sprinkler inspections in town buildings, there was some significant deterioration in some areas that need to be addressed. Otherwise, we're going to have floods. So that's pretty much where we're at. This number may go up or down. I'm working on the final figures and quotes from all the vendors at this point. But off the pad of my paper, this is the number I've come up with so far. I don't see it going any higher. If anything, will go down. So those are the only two articles that I will be submitting. Again, one for the fire department, one for town buildings, fire related. Just want to bring another situation that
Sure. What was that number again?
$12,908.
But when you went to the cellular transmitter originally, that saved money from Verizon, so you saved money
Significant, yes, yeah.
for a while now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, got brought to our attention that there was an issue with the fire alarm system at Central Tree Middle School. And it was interesting that we found out about it after school started, and then during the first week of school, we were required to do fire drills with the kids. And while we were conducting the fire drills, we noticed that there was an issue with the fire alarm system not activating on the second floor of Central Tree at all. We immediately called the fire alarm company. They acknowledged to us that they were aware of it and had an open work order to repair it. But here we are, first week into school, and no one had told us there was an issue. So they did come out and fix it, or band-aided it together. So it is up and running, it's functioning, does not have the voice activation or the annunciator that are required in assembly type settings. And in talking with the fire marshal's office, they are satisfied that as long as they don't have large assembly activities, kids plays or, any of that right now, but the school educational operation of the school, the system as it operates now is fully compliant. Building was built in '99. The company wants to replace the panel, which it's end of life, clearly. Problem is the system that was put in the building is 100% proprietary to one manufacturer, and only that company can repair it. And you can only buy parts from that one company. The problem is the entire district contracts with one company for all 17 buildings throughout the district. And this one company is not the same company that has the alarm system. So they have to hire the alarm system as a subcontractor to repair the system every time it breaks. So not only are they gonna hire this company to replace their panel, they're gonna bill the provider, and then the provider is gonna bill the town because it's over $35,000. I just see a potential of markup pricing along the way. I've reached out to the company that's managing all the alarm systems in the district to get a direct contact with the vendor, because I'd rather, if we're going to take on this project, we want to contract directly with that vendor, not secondhand, to get a determination of what the true cost is to us, and determine that. Once we have that number, we're getting pricing from another vendor to replace the entire system with a non-proprietary product. The concern I have is if we replace that panel and nothing else in the system down the line, smoke detectors, strobe horns, pull stations in the system that are 22 years old, if they've not been replaced, are we going to be chasing fire alarm systems for years? And so right now they want $49,000 to just replace the panel. Nothing else is the quote we've gotten so far from the service contract company. We're hoping to get that down. Again, the school lease agreement says anything over $35,000 becomes responsibility of the town. So I just want to bring that to your attention. A project like this, if we can keep the system running through school, would have to be replaced during school vacation week, or over the preferably would be over the summer. So that's what we're trying to do, is try to plan for this. So we may not have an article for the fall town meeting. We may have a special request for the special town meeting at the annual to address this over the summer. So that's pretty much where we're at. As I gather more information, I will forward it to you guys to keep you updated. And they hired a new facility manager at the district. He's been very cooperative and easy to work with, and understands where our finances are. So we're trying to work through this. So I just want to bring that to your attention. A couple things, two final things is federal reimbursement money or FEMA money that we will be receiving directly related to CARES funding. So there are two pots of money, technically three. The two that I'm involved in, CARES funding, as you know, came in May of 2020. Became available, and while it was eligible for up to, I think it was like $780,000. And during that whole thing, there was certain categories that you could apply for. And when it originally started, that Department of Division of Local Services laid it all out for us, and you basically put your request in, and they would tell you whether it was potential FEMA reimbursement at 75%, and CARES would pick up the 25%. And then some things that were not covered by FEMA would be 100% on the CARES dime. And so there was a lot of moving parts. We took 2 withdrawals from that. And so we received almost $500,000 to the town. And in this long list here is the actual document of all the expenditures by vendor and by date. So that kind of gives you a good snapshot. So we spent $603,371. These CARES 1 and 2, and those are the 2 amounts that we received. We paid for additional postage requirement for the special mailing elections because of people were allowed to do mail-in voting. So there was a mix. So that was covered, and we got some of that back from the states. That's where that $1,100 comes in. Back in September of last year, no, we're at the end of December. So at end of last calendar year, we submitted for that 25% that was eligible for FEMA reimbursement, and we received the $74,000 back. Right now, we have an open January 1st. So here's where it all gets crazy. January 1st, they change it now to everything's 100% FEMA reimbursement. So the pot of money became really different and difficult to manage because now everything was, so we had to submit everything to FEMA, and through the FEMA portal, you just couldn't put the vendor in the amount. You actually had to itemize each invoice to how many pens for the X number, it was horrific. So it is a very painful process. We have $248,000 in reimbursements coming back. So what we're being told is we have $102,000 deficit in the account right now. We're going to receive $245,000 back to cover that $102,000 shortfall. Anything that's left will be returned to the state. And then the state's going to take all that pile of money from every community, and they're going to spend it on their own ideas and projects. So that's pretty much where we're at. Once this money comes in from FEMA, we can do a full cost reconciliation of what was covered, what was not, and balance the books. In that way, it will determine exactly what gets returned. So we're working on that. It's been a very painstaking process. And the binder's got to be this thick. It is incredible. And I don't know how I drew the short straw, because I don't know how this became my job, but it did. So other than that, that's going very well.
That's under all duties.
So again, there were some comments made at a previous meeting here. I think Darren was concerned that we were just buying stuff frivolously, just to have it, and we're never used. I can honestly say, if you look through everything here, we really targeted things that were fully covered and appropriate. But we also targeted things that we could chip away at some of our capital items that were hanging out there. So we basically picked away at the low-lying fruit that we could really address and make a difference in each department's everyday operations. Whether it was a new piece of equipment that we would never be able to afford, but now we can really, get the job done. For instance, we wanted a new CPR machine. It's $13,000, and it fell under the patient care portion of it. And it's been on the capital plan, and the capital plan approved purchasing it. We just never had the money to go to town meeting to get it. So those are the type of things that we really looked at. We looked at the computer infrastructure of the town, servers, the switches and stuff that we needed to replace. We didn't get the chance to replace everything, and that's what the opera funds are helping with the high-speed internet stuff. So we really focused on those type of things. I will say the previous fire chief was a hoarder, and we had a ton of masks, and we had more supplies than we needed. So when the pandemic hit, we didn't run out of anything. Everyone was, scrambling to find stuff, but we were in great shape.
He was a hoarder. He was a planner. That's why those were there.
He's a prepper. He had his coming. He's a prepper.
We went down into the dungeon and we unlocked the dungeon. Look at all these masks.
That's what that room was for.
But it did work out. We were able to replace everything that we used. We still have that large stockpile, which is now current dates, not expired or close to. So we followed that example to continue if anything happens again in the future, that we are still prepared. So that's working out very well. The second bucket of money that we're dealing with is the COVID vaccine clinics. And so we were approached by Department of Public Health to run a regional vaccine site. We were the largest municipal site in the Commonwealth operating. And we did just under 60,000 people in 5 months. And here we are, we're gonna start doing boosters, and I'll be happy if I do a third of those. So, but everything is 100% fully reimbursement through FEMA. Everything's been submitted. I've been working with Becky and Dan to get all submissions in time. And they're working with DOR on verifying that, yes, they said they would make us whole. We just don't want, because we have a negative balance that count against our free cash. So I think we've done everything we've had to do to document that the FEMA is on the hook for this. They're going to provide it, and it will be basically being received in the prior or the next this fiscal year. So Dan's working his magic on that. So again, so that was only so to do it was $132,000 through July 31st. That covered wages and all materials. Part of the Operation Warp Speed that paid for the vaccine, all the needles and ancillary supplies were all provided to us by the federal government. We just basically had to provide staffing and anything that wasn't covered, stickers for your cards, Band-Aids, they didn't provide Band-Aids, just little things like that. We did some repairs to the library in order to stand up a vaccine site in the middle of winter. The heating system was broken in the basement, so we replaced the heating system in the basement. So that was $10,000. So Carrie was very happy that we could get that done, and it made our lives easier because it was kind of cold in there for a while. It was heat. So again, we really focused on things that would have long-term benefit to us. So, if anyone questions if there's any frivolous spending, I can honestly say I would not allow that. And early in CARES funding, it was every department was allowed to buy their own things, and I put my foot down with Dan and said, I will pay every bill. So every invoice had to come to me for me to sign and then submit to Dan for payment. So we could kind of rein some of that stuff in. So that's actually worked out pretty well. CARES funding is completely closed. So that is done with just reconciliation, and then that will be gone. ARPA funds, now that's a whole nother
Different bucket.
huge crazy buckets. Ron, as you know, Ron put a committee together. I sit on the committee, and we're bringing recommendations forward to the board to vote on. Other than that, that's all I can really say. And from what I hear, I guess I'm going to be the accounts person again. So
From what I hear, you do a very good job with your books.
So that's pretty much where we're at. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have one question.
Sure.
All of those laptops and stuff that we purchased, CM Geeks put asset tags on all of them?
Yes.
There. So CM Geeks has a listing of all of them.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Just want to make sure that CM Geeks was involved in getting
Every,
started.
he set everything up. He manages that, and Becky has a list.
Perfect.
So that became part of our inventory management stuff. Last thing I want to talk about is trash. Let's talk about trash.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. This probably goes back 5 or 6 years ago. The town had one trash line item in the DPW, $7,000, and I think if you look back, it's probably been $7,000 for the last 10 years.
Yep.
Well, as you pay your trash at home, it goes up every single year. And what's happened is that DPW was managed all the trash in town. It was their baby. They took care of the whole thing. Because of the dollar amount, it was never put out to bid because it didn't have to go out to bid because it was under the threshold to be biddable. But good business practices would determine you shop around and provide the best, get the best vendor. So we have one trash hauler, did all of us. And as the prices increases, DPW couldn't afford that. Previous finance committee wouldn't fund more money in this line item. So DPW director at the time just divvied up each building. Here you go, here you go, here you go. And so the library got stuck with their trash bill. We got stuck.
Wasn't quite the way it worked. Margaret wanted it to be. Margaret wanted it to be in each one of the departments, so we have a true picture of how much it costs each department to run. Yes, we did a lot of that year.
So, so here we are, several years later after Margaret's gone. We have a trash collection issue as far as out of control costs, and I've been bringing it to this board's attention, I think, the last 2 years. Yeah, so that it's something that I put into the public safety building account as you pay this bill, but the account was never increased to pay the bill. So several years I've run short because of either higher electrical costs or trash increases. So I spoke with Ron, I spoke with the Board of Health, because I would like to do a one trash haul town-wide and save everyone money. But I don't think they're in a position to do that, but at least they're taking on town building trash and putting together a list of all the dumpsters, all the weekly pickups, where the locations are, and they will shop around to different vendors. That should not be my job, and I'm not gonna do it. I already said that. So once we have that number, hopefully we can get a different vendor and take control back, those things. So that's all I got.
So what is the bottom line here? So you're saying trash removal under public safety building purchase services needs more money?
The potential of me running short in the spring could be there. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We had a prisoner in the cell bust the sprinkler head and completely flood the cell area. Thankfully, it was draining the floor, but it's because it's a specialized industrial or institutional sprinkler head. It's a special one. It had to be ordered, so that was repair and cost. It was. But again, that invoice was given to the police department, and when that person goes to court, that could be part of restitution. Whether we ever see that money, who knows? But again, that process was followed to make sure we could recoup some of that. We had a air compressor go on one of the air handlers for the air conditioner, and that was not the one we fixed the prior year. It was the one we fixed the prior year was in the main police station side. This was on the fire department side. So again, they got fixed immediately. Everything's up and running. I'm not saying we'll be short, but I just wanted you all to know where we're at. Maintaining buildings that, several generations old.
How old is the fire station?
Original 76.
I remember touring that
And
when
the
I was there.
addition is what, 2001?
2003. Yeah.
Three, when it was
Three,
finished.
when it finished. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. That's all I got for you.
Any questions?
No, just a comment, because we can seem to take various bills that go to all departments and we consolidate because we're gonna save money. Then a couple of years goes by and, oh, this bill's too big, so we're gonna spread it out. Then we go to something else, we bring them all back together and do something different, and it just keeps.
It's the same thing. That year that we split out the trash, we split out the cell phones, we
Right.
split out
Yes.
several things. And it was to get a full
Yep.
understanding of how much it costs to run each department. That was, and yes, it's never done anything but us continuing every year past.
The interesting thing where I may see some savings is 5 years ago, Margaret had an energy audit done,
Yes.
and they brought in a company to do all new LED lighting in the public safety building. It was gonna, they on Excel sheet that showed how much you're gonna save over the next 10 years, and you're gonna pay $15,000 up front and you can finance the rest. We're gonna save $6,000 a year. That's great, but it was a $500 a month charge put on for financing. So my budget got cut $6,000 because that's what it said we were going to save each year, but it actually cost me $6,000 to finance it, and that just finally fell off my bill last month.
Nice, so there you go.
So it might be good.
Yeah, with those electric better things, we know where they are.
Yeah, so that's all I got. Thank you for your time. Feel free to reach out.
So we have no questions.
It's great. I love it.
Did we check with Pete and Ted?
Pete, you got any questions?
Pete, any questions? Okay, Ted?
I guess for the CARES Act money and or FEMA money, you said some was being returned to the state. Is it because you couldn't use it? There wasn't things you could use it on, or?
I think we targeted everything. I don't know what else we could have bought. Technically, you could say we left $100,000 on the table, potentially.
What sounds like.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was trying to be real conservative and very cautious. I know some towns bought some crazy stuff, and I didn't want. I'm more afraid of when the feds come around to audit And they're gonna be like, well, what did you spend your money on? And I want to be able to justify,
I agree with you.
we did the right thing. Even though it's federal money, it's all of our money.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to be responsible and courteous. So.
And the thing is when this all first started, you didn't know what was coming down the pipe, so you saved it just in case you needed it.
Exactly.
You know, so you didn't want to go out and buy something crazy and wacky thinking, oh crap, we might need this or something. Thank you very much, Seth. Okay, so the only final thing that I would like to just have a brief discussion on is the remote participation policy that they put out, where there was only 4 different, I believe, I want to just make sure that we're all in agreement. There were 4 committees that were required to do remote participation. We were one of them. I believe, and I'd rather not have to watch the YouTube video if I can avoid it. I believe the thought process was you require everyone to do it or nobody to do it. Why were we singled out, or with the 4 of them, when there are other other committees that are just as important to the town at this point? I just want to make sure I get this straight because I have to put something in writing to the Board of Selectmen.
What were the 4? Did you, I remember. these.
Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and Planning Board, yeah.
So why don't the rest of them have to?
Well, I know myself, I'm thinking RDIC, because they're holding like $1.9 million of the company, of the town's potential money. The HPDD, which also could take that $1.9 million. So I'm thinking those 2 are important at this point. And never mind all the other ones. Huh? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that I think.
I mean, all the boards are, bottom line is, they're all important. Right?
I
Like
agree.
you said, you should either be none or all of them.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure because
That's my 2 cents. I mean,
I know that was what was said. I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement on that, just for the simple reason I'd like to put something in writing to the Board of Selectmen to let them know right now.
I mean, who came up with the 4 that could do that?
It was wrong.
It was Ron and Peter, I believe, that wrote the thing together. I'm not 100% sure.
What is the point of not having the other ones on remote? Is there a reason why the other ones, I mean, what's the downfall of that? Obviously, there's got to be some reason why they shouldn't be. I'm guessing, do they cost money to have a remote option? I mean, is it?
Well, we have, they don't, yeah,
We still do Zoom for those other boards.
right, some of them still do. It's just that they're not required. We would be required to do it regardless. And it can be a bit much when you're trying to, it's not so bad now that we're able to do it in person. Tamika is here because she can help handle it. But last year when we were trying to do it, when we were meeting here and everyone was raising their hands, I couldn't keep straight of everything. Seriously, I sat with 3 different things in front of me and I was like, this is not what I want to be doing in my evenings. So I'm just trying to think. I know we all discussed that we would have remote participation as we got closer to town meetings and stuff like that for the budget. But like maybe perhaps a meeting like tonight wouldn't have been something that we did because we have members that requested it and it's not an issue. So.
But actual committees, members that are not able to be present, they can still do remote participation under some other law that was on the books before, right?
They can right now. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, it was enhanced or it expanded because of the COVID thing, but before that you could do,
Yes.
if you had to, you could do remote.
Yes. As long as you had a
Right.
quorum in house. Now
Right.
it's loosened up because of COVID.
Correct.
So just wanted to make sure that was acceptable. I just wanted to state our concerns to them. I wanted to make sure that they received an answer from us since we were one that was listed out. So just didn't want it to just fall by the wayside. That's all.
Oh, makes sense.
So you want a specific motion for that? So you have something to,
I don't think I need a motion.
Okay.
I'm just gonna send our concerns because they're gonna make the decision and we'll play by the rules. Okay, Other than that, I think that was everything on the agenda, right? Great. So do we all want to sit around or do we want to have a motion to adjourn?
Let's sit around. for a while. I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Third.
Okay, roll call. Pete? Okay, Ted? Both of them are yeses. Alex? Tommy?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Okay, adjourned at 6:35. Woo-hoo.